Hi everyone, this is Luxtos, and today I'm bringing you a brand new video about the Warrior WeakAuras update. Yes, we are now in Phase 2. This means PvP talent and cleaning up the WeakAuras. So, let's get right into it. We're going to start with Arms Warrior, since it's the first spec being shown here, and we're going to go over Fury and Protection as well. Warrior Phase 2 has been the biggest overall. I was not entirely satisfied with how the WeakAuras were working out. Some auras were hidden under certain spell. I was getting a lot of questions towards that because people were maybe not aware of the proper rotation and all that stuff. It was becoming very hard for me to update them with the Azeroth trait in action that would change a lot of the rotation. So I've opted for a cleaner, simpler way of going about the rotation. So there's not going to be any filler anymore. There's not going to be slam or whirlwind, right? You're going to be tracking mostly Mortal Strike, Overpower, Warbreaker or Colossus Smash, Sweeping Strike, and your Execute. So this is your base toolkit. Everything else is granted with talents, right? So Skull Splitter, Rend, a Cleave, all of that cool stuff is going to be outside of the base toolkit. So what I've decided to do is we're simply going to recreate this exact situation. So I've cleaned it up. Now Mortal Strike as its own spot, Overpower as its own spot. There's nothing else going over, under. Warbreaker, Colossus Smash is right in the middle of your screen. It's right there because it's a very important thing, especially if you're using anger management. You're going to get a lot of use from it. That's your Execute spot. It's never going to go away. It's never going to be hidden by some other ability. And this is your Sweeping Strike. So everything that you see here is going to stay lit up. It's going to stay active. And it's going to help you out with your rotation. So, of course, I'm going to do some distinction, right? So this is going to be applicable for Fury and for Arms. The two first ability are your main rotational ability, and those two are situational ability, and this is your AoE tracker, okay? So the way that it works is most of your rotation is going to be spent tracking the cooldowns of Mortal Strike and of Overpower with the window of Colossus Smash or Warbreaker. And whenever available, and you can, you switch up your filler with Execute, at least for Arms. Everything else is going to be on your decisions. It's going to be your decisions, right? So you're going to either do Slam or Whirlwind as a filler, depending on the number of targets and if you have enough rage. So let me show you. First, you can see that I've added a swing timer. This is available for Arms only because I feel like it's the only spec that really requires it. Fury just attack too fast, and it's not a reliable information. You just swing way too fast, and you're not really waiting on that rage as a Fury warrior, right? Arms is more about lining up your ability, waiting for that next big swing to get that big chunk of rage, and being able to spend that rage on the good ability. So first, you're going to see that both of them are lining up, even though Warbreaker would have priority over it. But since it's a situational ability, because you might be attacking a mob that is about to die. So I have no real way of knowing that information or what you want to do about it. So what I do is it's simply going to light up whenever it's available, and it's on your terms to know what to do with it. So you can hit Warbreaker. It's going to track the Colossus Smash debuff on the target, blinking, letting you know that it is currently active. Then you can start using your Mortal Strike, your Overpower, and there you go. I just got a sudden death proc. Those are priority over pretty much anything else. On the counterpart, just the normal regular Execute is not in the priority list. It's going to be used as a filler whenever you don't have any Mortal Strike or you don't have any Overpower to use, right? So when those two are on cooldown, you can use Slam as much as you want. You can use your Mortal Strike, your Overpower, Sudden Death. We're getting a lot of those. Okay, and as a filler, you want to use Slam, right? So you want to try to keep your rage low enough to use Slam. I'm just going to try to burn my rage as much as I can right now. If you are under a certain amount of threshold of rage, your rage bar is simply going to dim down, letting you know you should probably not spam rage or will win anymore, because you're not going to be able to hit that next Mortal Strike. Because this is very important. You need to hit that Mortal Strike on cooldown, and if you burn too much rage, you're not going to be able to get it on cooldown. It's going to be delayed by maybe a couple of seconds, depending on your next swing timer. So this is where the swing timer comes in handy for arms. If you're at 30 rage, but you know you're going to get that big swing, next you can hit slam and then get a Mortal Strike in without wasting the cooldown of the ability. So this is straightforward. This is a more simpler approach to your rotation. I'm not tracking how many mobs there is around you or all that fancy stuff, because that's an information that is easily seen. Like, you can easily see that there is multiple mobs and that you should hit your AoE rotational spender instead of your single target spender. Of course, all of that doesn't matter if you're using Fervor for Battle, but that's all up to you. If you're using Rend, of course, it's not going to show up in here. So if you're using it, it's simply going to show up down here. It's going to simply let you know how many seconds there is left to it, and it's going to be slowing down. As soon as it hits the white color, it's letting you know that you can pandemic your Rend, so it's you can safely refresh it without losing DPS. So there you go. You can safely refresh it, and it's going to let you know whenever that's available. So that's an easy way to track it, and it doesn't need to be replaced with gap filler, because usually what I would do is I would have rotational ability in here from the talent window, which if you picked something else like Massacre, that is currently one of the best talent for arms right now, or if you would pick Fervor for Battle, you would have a gap filler in the WeakAuras, and that was not something that I liked. That's something that I really wanted to change. So there it is. So I simply made it a little simpler to use, and it's very straightforward. You have your basic ability, and you have to deal with your fillers, right? As you can see, you have all of your PvP talents. So I have Sharpened Blade. So if I hit it, it's going to glow, letting me know that it's currently active and that my next Mortal Strike is going to affect it, right? So there you go, and then it goes on cooldown. So that's the way that this works. You have your War Banner, you have your Duel. If you pick Disarm or Spell Reflect, it's all going to go in the utility down here, and those are only going to show up if you are in Outdoor World. So if you have, it's called No Instance, right? Or if you're in Arena or Battleground. So those are going to be the case where those are going to load up, so they're not going to show up in a 5-man dungeon or in Raid. Really straightforward. And also, I want to show you something. So these WeakAuras are not going to ship with the GCD active, right? But I want to show you how to activate it, because I've redone all of the individual aura to make it very easy for you, for protection, arms, and fury, to activate the GCD Swirl, because this is something I've been asked a lot, and I want to give it back to you. I want to give that feature to you. Personally, I don't use it. I find it a little distracting, but if you want to, here is how you activate it. So if you want it for arms, you simply open WeakAuras by typing /WA. You find the Warrior Rotation group right here. You go down into it, and you can click any of these ability. If you go into the trigger section, make sure you have the trigger 1 and simply check Show Global Cooldown. Go to Overpower, trigger 1, Show Global Cooldown. Colossus Smash, not the active one, but the cooldown. Show Global Cooldown. Execute Arms, you go into the trigger number 1. It's always the first one, right? Show Global Cooldown. And you can do the same thing for Sweeping Strike. It's all up to you, right? So as soon as I've activated all of those, if I go into combat, every ability that I do will trigger the GCD Swirl on abilities that are tracking a cooldown. So if that's a feature that you are into, you can go ahead and activate those by yourself for arms, for fury, and even for protection. It's going to work for all the abilities. So you can go ahead and do the same for Execute Fury, Rampage, Rending Blow, Bloodthirst, Ignore Pain, all of that good stuff, and it's going to work right out of the box. Okay, So let's see what's going on with Fury. There you go. We're going to switch spec real quick. Okay. So if we go Fury, right? We're just going to go ahead and hit the dummy real quick, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. So the first two ability in my bars are Bloodthirst and Raging Blow. Those are your main rotational ability. Your main ability, which is, it doesn't have a cooldown, right? But it has a charge time where you need to have enough rage in order to use it, is going to be right in the middle. As soon as it's available, it's going to glow, letting you know you should probably use it. And then you're going to go back into your normal rotation. So as long as you have 2 charges of Raging Blow and you're enraged, this is going to light up. If Bloodthirst is available, it's going to light up. Your filler are not going to be taken into account here, so you need to work those on your own terms. So if you're doing AoE, you want to hit Whirlwind right there, and Whirlwind is going to track the number of stacks that you have. So if you have 2 stacks, it's going to show you the duration, and it's going to let you know how many abilities are going to cleave, so that you can make sure you keep it up on multiple target cleaving, right? Because it's really important to hit those big abilities while cleaving down. That's very, very important. So in arms here with Sweeping Strike, and here it's your tracking for your cleave ability. You have your Execute right here, which is going to track on Fury. It has a cooldown, and the priority system is that you want to hit Execute whenever it's available and you are in rage. So that's very important. You don't want to spam Execute on cooldown because you want to have that enrage window active. So it's going to do exactly that. So if I would to switch over and hit the dummy on the other side that actually lose HP, you could see that in action, but I don't think that's really something that you need to see in the video, right? So this is just really straightforward. You have your ability, you have the important priority system, and you hit Execute whenever you're in that window. Otherwise, it's simply gonna light up, letting you know that it's available, but it's not gonna glow unless you are in rage. So this is very important. At the top here, you have those 2 abilities that are right there. That hasn't changed. That's pretty straightforward. And you also have PvP talent. So I have Dead Wish activated right here. If I pop it, it goes gray with the cooldown whenever Dead Wish is on cooldown, and it tracks the number of stack available, right? So if I press it again, you see the cooldown of the ability, and it lets me know that I have 2 stack active. There you go. That's the way that Death Wish is going to be tracked. So that's pretty cool for PvP. You got Spell Reflect, Disarm in here. So that's a pretty good example. And as you can see, we don't have an Enrage icon anymore. Anytime you're enraged, it's going to be a small orange bar right here that replaces the swing timer for arms, right? So that's pretty straightforward. It's a very nice way of showing the enrage. I don't think you need more than that. That's pretty cool. If you're using Furious Slash, look at this. Every time you use Furious Slash, this bar right here shows you the remaining duration on the buff granted by Furious Slash with the number of stacks. Every time you're about to fade it out, it's going to light up white. Every stack increases the overall opacity of the progress bar. When you're at full opacity with this this light blue grayish bar, it's going to let you know that you're at 3 stacks. You don't really need to stack it up more. You simply need to refresh it whenever it's about to fade. That's all you need to do with Furious Slash. Well, you use it as a filler, obviously, but yeah. So that's going to let you make sure that you don't let it fall off and that you get your optimal DPS rotation going in. So that's really it for Fury. It's really straightforward. All of the PvP talents have been built in. Everything has been streamlined. You always see your Execute. You always see all of your ability. You just have to deal with your filler. Okay, so we're going to switch to protection now. Not much has changed for protection, but some quality of life improvements have been done. Of course, protection has some changes on the way for 8.1, but I wanted to lay down the groundwork on this new way of doing things, having cleaner WeakAuras that should be more optimal for performance, but also for usability and customization, right? So as soon as the new changes for 8.1 comes in, if there's any, we're going to go ahead and update the WeakAuras. Don't worry about it. This is going to be done as soon as possible. Okay, so for for protection, it's really straightforward. Nothing has changed in the icons because everything was laid out perfectly. Well, if I can say so, but I mean, they were laid out very cleanly. There's nothing overlapping. Everything was working fine as it was. Small changes that I've done, right? So revenge, every time that you get a free revenge from getting hit, revenge is going to glow. If you are using the vengeance talent, if you press revenge, it's gonna dim down, letting you know that your next ability should probably be ignore pain if you want to do the swap back on those, right? So as soon as you hit ignore pain, it's gonna dim down and revenge is gonna light up. I've added the number here that was present there that was maybe a little too low right there at the bottom. I've added it straight up on the icon, so you now know exactly the number of absorb that ignore pain is currently absorbing, so that's pretty cool. And you're going to be visually able to see whenever you need to rotate between ignore pain and revenge, so that's pretty cool. Everything else is straightforward. Those are all working the exact same way. The only difference is now we're also tracking all the PvP talents. So we're tracking Dragon Charge, we're tracking Bodyguard, Shield Bash, all of that cool stuff. And we now have Taunt. So I'm going to be adding Taunt to all the tank spec. It's been a very requested feature. It should have been there from the get-go, but you know, sometimes you forget about some stuff. So Taunt is now going to be tracked in there, so you're going to be able to see what's the remaining cooldown on all of those ability. So this is really it. I think this is going to be an overall good change for the warrior. You're losing a little bit of feature because we're no longer tracking those filler abilities, but instead of trying to grab your hand and show you exactly what to do, you're more getting an overall view of your class and what you should be doing with it, and when you need to use filler or not, or rotational abilities, right? So going on forward with all the WeakAuras, this is going to be the way that we're going to do things. This makes it a lot easier for me to update those and build in around all of those Azerite trait. If you want to add Azerite trait, I have a guide on that. So if you want to add Test of Might or any Azerite trait that you need to track for warrior, you can go ahead and watch my Azerite trait guide video on how to add those yourself. I'm not going to add them because they're always getting changed up. The duration, everything is always moving, and they're removing some, adding some. So just so we stay clear, we're going to be able to have all of those concise into one WeakAuras. This is only going to be your class WeakAuras. If you want to add your Azerite trait tracking, go ahead. It's pretty easy to do. So that's going to be it for this video. It's been a very long, rambling video about the warrior. I'm just really happy with where we're going with this, and I hope you guys are going to like it too. So if you do, I invite you to leave a comment down below, subscribe to my YouTube channel, but also come visit me on Twitch. I stream every single day except Saturday, and I do WeakAuras live. I play Mythic Plus. I do a lot of cool stuff, so if you want to check that out live, make sure you come follow me on Twitch. Until then, this is going to be it for me. Good luck in BFA, guys.